Captain Elias Kor stood at the edge of the landing platform, his eyes scanning the sprawling alien city that stretched before him. Zephura's skyline was a blend of crystalline towers and bioluminescent structures that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the life of the planet itself. He felt a mixture of awe and apprehension. This was his first encounter with an alien civilization of this magnitude, and he carried a single object that could change the course of history. A gift, a small metallic relic from humanity's first journey into the stars. It seemed insignificant in his hand, but he knew it carried a weight far beyond its size. The platform vibrated lightly as the landing craft beneath him retracted into the ground, leaving Elias and his small team exposed to the alien world. The air smelled faintly metallic, tinged with the scent of flowering plants that glowed softly in the dim light. Zephura was alive, in a way humans could barely comprehend. The sky shifted colors subtly, as if the atmosphere itself responded to thought and motion. "Stay close," Elias whispered to his team. The translator devices in their ears converted the ambient signals from Zephura into human-understandable language, but it was far from perfect. Every sound, every flicker of light carried meaning that machines struggled to decode. Elias had been trained for moments like this, but nothing in his experience could prepare him for the feeling of being completely observed without words. Ahead, the great gates of the palace opened. The walls shimmered with iridescent energy, reflecting patterns that shifted in complex geometries. Beyond the gates lay a courtyard filled with creatures of every shape and size, their 6 limbs moving with precision, their eyes glowing in patterns Elias could not immediately decipher. Some of them paused to stare at the humans, tilting their heads as though trying to understand their purpose. A figure emerged at the center of the courtyard, more imposing than anything Elias had imagined. The alien queen, Viola, moved with a grace that seemed almost liquid, her tall frame adorned in flowing garments that shimmered like the surface of Zephura's lakes. Her skin radiated a soft light, changing color with every movement, every subtle gesture. Elias felt the weight of 1,000 years of wisdom in her gaze, though she said nothing. The creatures surrounding her tensed, their attention unwavering. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward, the small metallic device held firmly in his hands. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing slightly. The translator converted his words into a complex pattern of light and sound. The queen paused, her movements slowing as her glowing patterns dimmed slightly. The courtyard fell silent, the ambient hum of the city fading into nothing as all eyes turned toward the human standing before them. He placed the gift on a pedestal before her, its polished surface reflecting the alien light. It was a simple object, a relic from humanity's first attempts at space travel. To humans, it was a symbol of courage and ingenuity. To the queen, it was a memory, a connection to a time long forgotten. The moment the device made contact with the pedestal, the queen froze completely. Her glow dimmed almost entirely, and the creatures surrounding her remained motionless, as if the world itself had paused. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. This reaction was unexpected. He glanced at his team, who were equally stunned, their hands hovering near their weapons but frozen in place by the intensity of the moment. The translator buzzed softly, struggling to interpret the queen's current state. Finally, it delivered a single word: recognition. The meaning was unclear, but the weight of it was undeniable. A low hum began to emanate from the gift. Elias stepped back slightly, unsure if the device had some hidden function he did not understand. The hum grew stronger, resonating with the very ground beneath his feet. The pedestal glowed faintly, sending tendrils of light toward the queen. Slowly, her body began to react, but not in the way Elias expected. She did not move, did not speak, but her light patterns shifted, forming intricate sequences that no translator had seen before. One of the queen's advisors, a smaller creature with translucent skin and eyes that seemed to reflect the entire spectrum of light, approached cautiously. It communicated through patterns that the translator barely managed to convert. "The device, it carries the essence of the lost colony," it said. Elias frowned, confused. He had heard legends of Zephurian colonies lost to time, but he had assumed they were myth. Apparently, humanity had unknowingly retrieved a fragment of their history. The queen remained still, her body radiating a faint, pulsing light. Elias understood that this was not anger, but overwhelming emotion. She was processing centuries of memory in a matter of moments, and the humans were standing at the center of it. Every movement, every thought he had carried into this courtyard now had consequences he could not predict. Elias took a careful step forward. "Your Majesty," he said, keeping his voice steady despite the rapid beating of his heart. "I mean no harm. This gift, it is a token of respect from humanity. We seek understanding, not conquest." He paused, watching the Queen's light shift in response. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it suggested acknowledgement. The advisor flickered in patterns that the translator interpreted as, "She senses truth, but she fears the implications." Elias nodded slightly, realizing the truth in those words. This moment was bigger than diplomacy. It was a bridge between species, a connection forged by history and chance. Humanity had stumbled into a role it had never imagined, keepers of a fragment of Zyphorian memory. As the minutes stretched into what felt like hours, the Queen's glow began to intensify. Her body remained motionless, but her light patterns grew more complex, swirling in a dance that seemed both beautiful and incomprehensible. Elias watched in fascination, feeling a sense of wonder he had never experienced. The gift had done something no human had expected. It had awakened a part of an alien mind thought lost forever. The courtyard around him began to react subtly. Flowers that glowed softly shifted their colors in sympathy with the Queen's patterns. The ground beneath the humans seemed to hum in resonance with the device. Elias realized that the moment was larger than any single human or alien. It was a shared experience, a fusion of histories and possibilities. One of his team members, Lieutenant Mara, whispered, "Captain, what do we do now?" Elias shook his head slightly. "We wait," he replied. "We let her understand this is not our moment to act, only to witness." The words carried more weight than he intended. Humanity was fragile here, and yet the act of giving a simple gift had placed them at the center of something extraordinary. Suddenly, the Queen's glow shifted again. The intensity of her light forced Elias to shield his eyes for a moment. When he looked back, he saw a pattern forming, an image, almost like a vision. It showed humans exploring the stars, Zyphorians observing from afar, and a shared path that connected the two species. Elias felt a surge of hope. The gift had not just frozen the Queen, it had revealed a possibility, a future where humans and Zyphorians could stand together. The advisor moved closer, translating the final message. She recognizes potential. She has seen what humans might become, and she hesitates because the path forward is uncertain. Elias nodded, understanding the caution. The Queen was powerful beyond measure, and yet she paused because of trust, or the lack of it. Humanity had been given a chance, and now it was their responsibility to honor it. Elias stepped back from the pedestal, letting the light flow freely between the Queen and the device. He felt the weight of history pressing against him, but also the thrill of discovery. This was what exploration had always been about, not finding new worlds, but finding connections, and in doing so, discovering what humanity could truly be. The Queen finally made a small movement, a subtle shift of her head, a slight increase in her glow. It was not a word, not a gesture, but a sign. Elias understood it perfectly. The moment of freezing had passed. A dialogue, silent yet profound, had begun. He lowered himself into a respectful bow once more. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he whispered. The translator converted it, and the light patterns on the Queen responded with what he interpreted as acknowledgement. It was not friendship yet, not alliance, but it was a beginning. As the humans stood in the courtyard, surrounded by creatures who watched every motion with intensity, Elias felt a sense of quiet pride. Humanity had arrived on Zephura, unarmed but brave, carrying nothing more than a gift and their curiosity. And somehow that had been enough to move the most powerful being on the planet. The sky above shifted again, colors flowing like liquid over the horizon. Elias felt a connection to it, to the city, and to the Queen. This moment, frozen and yet alive, was the start of something far greater than any human could have imagined. And as he stepped back, letting the light pulse around him, he knew that the story of humans on Zephura was only beginning. The courtyard had returned to its quiet hum, but the air remained thick with tension. Captain Elias Kor felt every gaze upon him, the alien guards, six-limbed forms rigid, their glowing eyes fixed on his every movement. The Queen, Viola, had moved again, but her light patterns flickered in ways Elias could not immediately understand. It was clear she was processing, observing, judging. He knew that patience would be his greatest tool here. He lowered his hand from the small metallic gift he had presented, letting it rest on the pedestal. Even though it seemed harmless, the device had stirred something far deeper than any human technology should have. Elias glanced at Lieutenant Mara, who gave a subtle nod. She understood his silent instruction, wait and observe. A delicate ripple passed through the assembly of advisors. One of them, a translucent being with limbs that shifted fluidly like liquid glass, stepped forward. Its voice, a combination of soft tones and glowing patterns, reached the translator. The artifact it carries echoes, memories from the lost colony. She has not felt this connection in centuries. We do not know what it may reveal. The lost colony was something the history books mentioned briefly, always with uncertainty. It was a Zephurian colony that had disappeared during early space exploration centuries ago. For humans to have retrieved a relic from that colony, to bring it unthinkingly into the Queen's presence, it was unprecedented. The Queen herself remained still, her form a radiant figure in the center of the courtyard. Her light dimmed slightly, then flared in irregular pulses, sending shadows across the alien architecture. Elias could feel the energy in the air, an almost physical pressure, as though the very atmosphere vibrated in resonance with her thoughts. "What should we do?" Mara asked quietly, her voice almost lost in the hum of the courtyard. Elias took a moment to respond. "We observe, and when the Queen speaks, we listen carefully. Every signal, every change matters." He could feel his pulse quicken. Humanity had never stood in the presence of an alien monarch like this. Every misstep could have consequences that stretched far beyond their immediate safety. A sudden movement caught Elias' eye. The Queen's advisors were communicating with her, flashes of light pulsing across their forms. It was rapid, almost impossible for the translator to keep up. But one phrase became clear. The Queen wanted a demonstration, not of force, but of humanity's potential. Elias realized then that the gift had been a kind of key, unlocking a question she had carried for centuries. Could humans be allies, or were they too unpredictable to trust? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Elias nodded to Mara. "We need to show her what humans are capable of without threatening her." He glanced at the small team behind him. "Keep your composure. This is not combat. This is diplomacy in its purest form." The Queen's glowing form shifted slightly, indicating attention. One of the advisors explained, translating the patterns of light and sound into words humans could understand. "She wishes to see your understanding of creation, your ability to think beyond survival. She wants to know if humanity can navigate complexity without chaos." The question was simple in theory but daunting in practice. The human team had trained for emergencies, conflicts, and negotiations, but they had never faced a test like this, one that required understanding a living, intelligent system that had no precedent in human experience. He stepped closer to the projection. "This star system," he said carefully, "represents our approach to exploration. We analyze, learn, and adapt. We do not take lightly the responsibility of knowledge. Our choices affect not just ourselves, but the worlds we encounter." He gestured toward the planets and asteroid belts, manipulating the hologram to illustrate human strategies for navigation and observation. The Queen's glow intensified, her patterns shifting in ways that conveyed surprise and intrigue. Elias felt a small surge of hope. She was reacting positively, but the response was cautious, measured. The test was not over. The next trial was more physical. A section of the courtyard transformed, revealing a vast arena with shifting terrain. Alien observers held their positions, watching intently. Elias realized immediately that this was not meant to harm them. It was a test of courage, creativity, and teamwork. The terrain shifted underfoot, presenting challenges that combined both physical dexterity and problem-solving. Walls rose and fell unpredictably, rivers of light flowed across the ground, and floating platforms demanded precise timing to cross. Elias led his team carefully, communicating silently and relying on instinct and training. Every step, every choice was observed by the Queen, her light patterns flickering faster with each movement. Mara reached a floating platform, her movements precise and confident. Elias followed, adjusting his pace to match the flow of the shifting environment. The team worked seamlessly, overcoming obstacles that would have seemed impossible without coordination and trust. With each success, Elias felt the energy around him change. The Queen's glow grew warmer, almost encouraging, as though acknowledging the human capability to adapt and persevere. After the arena challenge, the final test began. Elias and his team were led to a chamber filled with strange symbols and intricate designs, a puzzle left by the lost colony. The room radiated a faint light, pulsing in response to their presence. Elias studied the patterns carefully, realizing that solving this puzzle required more than logic. It required understanding, empathy, and a willingness to connect with a culture far older than humanity itself. Hours passed as they worked, the humans interpreting symbols, testing combinations, and observing reactions. The team communicated silently, each member contributing their knowledge and intuition. Slowly, the puzzle began to yield, responding to human insight. The room's glow shifted, brightening as the final piece clicked into place. The Queen's response was immediate and profound. Her glow expanded, radiating outward in intricate patterns that enveloped the chamber. Elias felt a sense of accomplishment, but also awe. This was not just recognition, it was a profound acknowledgement of human potential, creativity, and spirit. The humans had passed the test, but more importantly, they had begun to earn trust. The advisors approached cautiously, their light patterns conveying relief and admiration. "She sees now," one said through the translator. "Humanity is not just a force of survival. You carry curiosity, courage, and creativity. You are capable." The future required more than courage. It required understanding, patience, and the willingness to build a bridge between species. As they exited the chamber, Elias glanced back at the Queen. She remained in the center of the courtyard, her glow steady but not static, her presence commanding yet strangely welcoming. It was a reminder that this world was alien in every sense, yet not beyond comprehension. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, but as explorers, learners, and allies in waiting. The city outside shimmered in the fading light. Elias felt a sense of both pride and responsibility. They had been tested, and they had risen to the occasion. But the Queen's judgment was ongoing, her understanding of humanity evolving with every interaction. Every gesture, every decision would matter. He turned to Mara and the team. "We've taken the first step," he said quietly. "But the path ahead is longer and the stakes are higher than we imagined. This is a beginning, not an end. We show her humanity." And as Elias looked at the Queen's radiant form, standing in silent judgment and awe, he knew that humanity's future on Zephura, and perhaps beyond, depended on every choice they made from this moment forward. The gift had been more than a relic, it had been a key. And they had just begun to unlock the doors it had opened. Captain Elias Corps watched the Queen's glowing form from the observation balcony as the city below pulsed with life. Her luminescence flickered in complex patterns, reflecting the countless thoughts and emotions racing through her mind. Humanity had passed the initial tests, but Elias knew this was far from over. The Queen did not reward recklessness, she challenged understanding. Their next trial would be the true measure of human potential. A soft chime echoed through the chamber where the humans had been resting. One of the Queen's advisors approached, its translucent form flickering in a sequence that the translator interpreted as, "Prepare yourselves." "The next trial begins." Elias motioned for his team to gather. Lieutenant Mara's eyes met his with quiet determination. Every step they took now carried immense weight. Their success would shape the future of human and Zephorian relations alike. They were led to a vast hall, its ceiling stretching impossibly high, adorned with floating symbols that shimmered like starlight. At the center of the hall, a large projection appeared, a simulation of a remote sector in Zephura's orbit. Several planets hovered in precise formation, while streams of energy flowed unpredictably between them. The advisor's translated words reached Elias. "The Queen wishes to see how you react to chaos. This system is unstable. Your choices will determine outcomes for many. Observe patterns, anticipate changes, and act deliberately." Elias focused on predicting the chain reactions of their choices, ensuring that every move preserved balance while maximizing positive outcomes. The Queen's glow shifted constantly, sending rapid pulses across the hall as though monitoring not just actions but intentions. Hours passed, yet the human team remained undeterred. They analyzed, adjusted, and reanalyzed every variable. Small errors occurred, but they corrected them with collaboration and adaptability. Slowly, the simulation began to respond positively, showing stability and growth where chaos had once threatened collapse. The Queen's glow brightened incrementally, sending patterns of recognition that Elias interpreted as approval. Then, the simulation escalated. A previously hidden energy rift opened between two planets, threatening to destabilize the system entirely. Elias quickly assessed the situation. He realized this was a test not just of intellect, but of judgment under pressure. Acting decisively, he directed the team to redirect the energy flows, using methods that relied on creativity rather than brute calculation. Each adjustment required trust in one another, coordination, and rapid decision-making. Mara moved with precision, executing Elia's strategy while suggesting minor improvements based on intuition. The simulation responded to her adjustments, showing signs of stabilization. Elias felt a surge of pride, not just for success, but for the way his team embodied the qualities the Queen was testing: courage, ingenuity, and unity. The energy rift collapsed harmlessly, the planet's orbits correcting in perfect synchrony. The hall fell silent, the glowing projections stabilizing in a calm pattern. The Queen's luminescence flared dramatically, enveloping the entire chamber in a cascade of shifting colors. Elias felt the energy like a wave against his chest, a powerful yet non-threatening force that conveyed acknowledgement of human achievement. An advisor stepped forward, translating the Queen's message. "You have demonstrated foresight, courage, and the ability to act with wisdom under pressure. Yet this was only the beginning. She now seeks proof of empathy, the understanding of life, not just systems." Elias nodded. Empathy. That was a test humans could never approach as machines or simple logic could. It required connection, intuition, and awareness of others' perspectives. He and his team were led to a biodome, a vast chamber filled with alien flora and fauna. The plants glowed softly, and small creatures moved among them, each reacting to human presence. Elias could feel the subtle tension in the air. The Queen's observers remained nearby, monitoring every gesture. The challenge was clear: demonstrate understanding of life forms unlike any humans had encountered. The humans began to interact carefully. Mara gently touched a luminous plant, noting how it reacted with a soft, pulsing glow. Another team member observed a small six-limbed creature, predicting its movement and allowing it to cross a delicate bridge safely. Elias himself studied the environment, noting patterns of growth, energy flow, and subtle signs of distress in the organisms. They moved slowly, deliberately, ensuring no harm came from their presence. A sudden disturbance occurred. One of the larger creatures, startled by an unexpected sound, darted toward a cluster of fragile plants. Elias reacted instinctively, guiding the creature away without startling it further. Mara adjusted a nearby energy conduit to balance the biodome's ecosystem, preventing damage. Their actions were careful, precise, and informed by observation and empathy rather than force. The Queen's glow shifted, brighter and more intricate than ever. Her luminescent patterns conveyed astonishment and approval. Elias felt that they had passed not just a test of intelligence, but of character. Humanity had demonstrated the ability to understand and protect life, to act with awareness and restraint in unfamiliar circumstances. As the biodome challenge concluded, the humans were led to another chamber, one that contained ancient Zephurian records preserved in crystalline matrices. Elias studied them, realizing that these contained the history, culture, and wisdom of the lost colony. The Queen's test now required interpretation, understanding not just survival or intellect, but legacy. Elias carefully analyzed the matrices, noting patterns and symbols that resonated with the gift they had presented earlier. He understood the connections humans had unknowingly created, bridges across centuries, linking past Zephurians with present humanity. With Mara and the team's assistance, they interpreted the records, showing respect for Zephurian heritage while demonstrating human insight and creativity. The Queen's luminescence intensified again, filling the chamber with radiant light. Her advisors translated her response. "You have seen beyond survival, beyond mere existence. You understand connection, empathy, and legacy. You demonstrate qualities that were thought rare, even among the Zephurians themselves." Elias felt a thrill of pride, tempered by the gravity of the moment. This was not praise, it was recognition of potential. Before leaving the chamber, Elias paused to reflect. The trials were challenging, yes, but they were designed not to break humans, but to reveal humanity's strengths: creativity, empathy, courage, and collaboration. He realized that the Queen did not simply test for intelligence or power. She tested for the essence of being, for qualities that defined a species worthy of trust and respect. The humans were led back to the palace courtyard. The Queen remained at her usual place, glowing steadily, her form radiating both authority and curiosity. Elias approached, bowing slightly. The translator relayed his respectful words. "Your Majesty, we have done as you asked. We have shown our abilities, our understanding, and our willingness to learn." Her glow shifted, forming complex sequences that Elias interpreted as measured acknowledgement. This was not final approval, it never would be. But it was a step closer to understanding, a recognition that humanity could rise to challenges without succumbing to recklessness or aggression. Elias turned to his team. "We've come far," he said quietly, "but this is only the beginning. She will continue to test us. The lessons we've learned today will shape how we proceed and how we represent humanity." Mara nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "Then we stay vigilant, learn, and keep proving ourselves, one step at a time." Elias stood with his team, watching the Queen from a distance. The trials had revealed more than abilities, they had shown the depth of human potential. Humanity had not merely survived the test, they had impressed a being whose species had mastered the stars. The gift they had brought, the small metallic device, had opened the door. The trials had strengthened the bridge between humans and Zephorians. Elias knew that the story of humanity on this distant world was only beginning, and that the path forward would require courage, insight, and unwavering spirit. But for the first time, he felt certain of one thing. Humans were ready to take that next step, and the Queen had begun to see them not just as visitors, but as potential partners in shaping the galaxy's future. The sun, or whatever light source ruled Zephura, cast long, shifting shadows over the crystalline towers of the capital city. Captain Elias Kor stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out at the alien world below. The city pulsed with energy, glowing softly in rhythm with the life of the planet. The trials had tested his team's courage, intelligence, and empathy, and the Queen had acknowledged their potential. Yet Elias knew their path was far from certain. Recognition was only the first step. Respect and trust had to be earned every day. The palace gates opened to reveal a delegation of Zephorian nobles, their six-limbed forms adorned with intricate patterns of luminescent symbols. Unlike the Queen's advisors, these nobles were wary, their movements cautious, their expressions, if it could be called that, reserved. Elias understood quickly that their presence was a test in another sense, humanity's ability to navigate alien politics. An advisor approached and translated the Queen's communication. "These nobles challenge the presence of humans on Zephura. They question your intentions, fearing disruption of their traditions and stability. The Queen allows you to demonstrate worthiness and diplomacy. We show them who we are, not with words alone, but through actions and reasoning. Stay calm, stay observant, and above all, be honest." The translator struggled to capture every nuance, but the meaning was clear. These were highly intelligent beings who would test not only the humans' words, but the sincerity of their intentions. Elias stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Honored nobles, I stand here not as a conqueror, but as a representative of humanity," he said, his voice steady. "We seek understanding, partnership, and peace. Our goal is to learn from you and share what we can in return. We do not come to disrupt, only to connect." The translator caught its first words. "Humans claim respect and understanding, yet you are strangers to our history, our ways. Why should we trust you with our legacy and our future? Let us demonstrate what humans are capable of, not through claims, but through deeds." The Queen's presence at the back of the hall, her luminescence steady and watchful, reminded Elias that failure was not an option. The first task became apparent, a territorial dispute simulation. Two factions of Zephorians were represented in a holographic projection, each claiming resources in a region critical to the planet's energy distribution. Elias and his team were tasked with mediating a resolution that would satisfy both sides without creating conflict. The projection pulsed as if alive, reacting to every suggestion, every potential compromise. Elias analyzed the situation carefully. He recognized that brute solutions would fail. The aliens, society, valued balance, tradition, and subtle negotiation. He proposed a solution that distributed the resources equitably while introducing a collaborative initiative between the factions, an idea that required trust, compromise, and communication. Mara and the team supported his approach, offering calculations, observations, and cultural insights derived from their time with the Queen's advisors. The nobles watched intently. Each adjustment, each suggestion was evaluated not just for its effectiveness, but for the humans' understanding of Zephorian values. Elias felt the pressure, knowing that one misstep could unravel the fragile perception they had built. But the team worked seamlessly, balancing creativity with cultural sensitivity, and slowly the simulation responded positively. The projection stabilized. Both factions accepted the compromise, their forms glowing in harmony with the new balance. The nobles shifted their luminescence in reaction, expressing measured approval. One senior noble stepped forward and conveyed, through the translator, "You demonstrate insight, not just intelligence. You respect life, tradition, and consequence." This is a rare quality, even among Xiphorians. Yet the trials were far from over. The Queen's next challenge was subtle yet profound: observation under pressure. Elias and his team were guided to a corridor overlooking a large chamber filled with alien citizens. The people moved freely, unaware of human observers above. The task was not combat, negotiation, or puzzle solving, it was perception. To succeed, humans had to understand Xiphorian society, anticipate conflicts, and act preemptively to maintain harmony, all while remaining unseen. Elias and Mara crouched behind the observation platform, watching carefully. Small disputes emerged among the citizens. A disagreement over territory, a misunderstanding between different species, subtle shifts in social energy. The humans had to act not with force but with influence. They signaled minor interventions through holographic projections, subtle adjustments that helped citizens resolve conflicts without knowing how or why. Hours passed. Every action required precision and care. A single misstep could create chaos. Yet the humans worked in perfect coordination, applying insight, empathy, and judgment in every decision. Slowly, the chamber stabilized. The citizens moved in harmony, the subtle tensions resolved before they escalated. The Queen's glow intensified, brighter than ever, as if the entire palace recognized the humans' achievements. Elias felt the energy reverberate through the observation platform, a mix of approval, awe, and recognition. The humans had proven their capacity to understand and influence an alien society, not by domination, but through careful, empathetic action. Finally, the humans were called to the center of the hall once more. The Queen's luminescence enveloped them, sending patterns of light that spoke directly to Elia's mind. Through the translator, the advisors conveyed the message. You have shown intellect, courage, empathy, and wisdom, yet the path forward remains uncertain. Some among us still doubt your place. You must continue to demonstrate unity, integrity, and respect. The final judgment approaches. As they prepared to leave the hall, Mara whispered, "They're testing everything about us, not just what we can do, but who we are." Elias smiled faintly. Exactly. And we've shown them that humans are more than curiosity and survival. We are capable of partnership, foresight, and respect. That is what makes us valuable. It had opened doors to understanding, and every action they took now contributed to shaping a future shared with Xiphoria. The nobles followed them silently, their luminescence calm but observant. Elias knew their approval was not yet complete, but the subtle shifts in their light patterns suggested growing trust. Humanity had passed this stage, yet more challenges awaited. Political intrigue, societal differences, and the ever-watchful Queen ensured that complacency would be fatal. Elias glanced at Mara and the team. We've done well today, but tomorrow will bring new trials. We have to continue proving ourselves, not for glory, but for the opportunity to build bridges. That is our responsibility. Mara nodded, her determination unwavering. Then we stay vigilant, act with wisdom, and let our actions speak for who we are. Humanity had proven itself capable of more than survival. It had demonstrated wisdom, empathy, and the capacity to connect with a civilization far older and more advanced than themselves. The Queen's glowing form remained in the distance, a constant reminder of both challenge and possibility. Elias knew that the final steps of their journey were approaching. Humanity's place on Zephura and in the galaxy would depend on their courage, insight, and integrity. The gift they had offered was more than a relic. It was a key that had unlocked doors, bridged cultures, and begun a story that would echo for generations. Elias took a deep breath, looking out over the glowing city. They had passed another stage, yet the trials were far from over. But for the first time, he felt a growing certainty. Humanity could rise to the challenge, and in doing so, claim a place among the stars worthy of respect, trust, and partnership. The palace of Zephura glowed under the soft light of its twin moons, the city below shimmering like a living constellation. Captain Elias Kor and his team stood at the balcony, gazing down at the vibrant streets, each structure pulsing with life and energy. Their trials had tested intellect, courage, empathy, and diplomacy, and humanity had risen to every challenge. Yet Elias knew the final judgment would come not through tests or simulations, but through the Queen herself. The Queen, Viola, appeared before them in the central courtyard, her luminescence brighter and more complex than ever. Her advisors hovered nearby, their light patterns calm but attentive. The air was thick with anticipation. The entire city seemed to pause in quiet expectation. Elias could feel the weight of this moment pressing against him. This was the culmination of every choice, every action, every act of understanding they had shown. An advisor stepped forward, translating the Queen's communication. Your deeds have been observed, your courage and wisdom tested, yet the final measure will reveal the truth of your character. Will humanity act with honor when the stakes are highest? Will you protect life, preserve knowledge, and demonstrate unity in the face of uncertainty? Walls of light rose from the ground, enclosing them in a vast arena. The air hummed with energy, and strange alien symbols pulsed along the walls. Elias realized immediately that this was a combination of all the previous trials: intellect, strategy, empathy, and diplomacy, all condensed into one ultimate test. The first challenge emerged, a holographic projection of a distant sector in Zephura's orbit, teeming with life, cities, and ecosystems. An anomaly appeared, a sudden surge of unstable energy threatening to devastate the system. Elias understood the gravity immediately. This was not simulation alone. The Queen wanted to see how humanity responded under extreme pressure when every choice could mean the difference between harmony and destruction. Elias moved to the center, analyzing the projection. "We act with precision," he said quietly. "We protect life first, then stabilize the system. No rash decisions, no shortcuts." Mara and the team coordinated, applying all they had learned from previous trials. They calculated energy flows, anticipated chain reactions, and implemented solutions with careful timing. The Queen's luminescence shifted rapidly, conveying both scrutiny and anticipation. The anomaly escalated, threatening to cascade through the entire sector. Elias made a bold decision, combining human creativity with calculated risk. He directed the team to redirect energy streams in a way that no algorithm alone could predict, trusting intuition and observation as much as logic. Mara adjusted planetary shields with precise timing, and the team synchronized actions seamlessly. The surge collapsed harmlessly. The holographic sector stabilized, life preserved, ecosystems unharmed. Elias felt a pulse of relief, tempered by awareness that this was only one part of the final challenge. The Queen's glow intensified dramatically, enveloping the arena in radiant patterns of approval, awe, and measured surprise. Next came a challenge of diplomacy. Two alien factions appeared in projection, each claiming ownership of the same vital resource. Elias realized that brute solutions or forced compromise would fail. The Queen was observing not just judgment, but humanity's ability to mediate with fairness, understanding, and insight. He addressed the factions carefully. "You each have a right to your claims. But there is a solution that honors both of you. Cooperation, trust, and shared responsibility will protect the system and allow both to thrive." He gestured to the team, who supported him with calculations, historical knowledge, and strategies for shared governance. The factions responded, testing each proposal, shifting their demands, challenging assumptions. Elias remained calm, adjusting solutions with logic, empathy, and insight. Slowly, the factions reached agreement, their glow stabilizing in harmony. The Queen's radiance expanded further, filling the arena with light. Humanity had proven they could mediate, inspire trust, and preserve life simultaneously. But the final test was not strategy or negotiation, it was personal. The Queen's advisors signaled for the team to observe a series of holographic scenarios representing ethical dilemmas across human and Zephorian society. Each scenario challenged morality, empathy, and leadership. Elias and his team had to choose actions that prioritized life, understanding, and long-term harmony over immediate gain or self-interest. The scenarios intensified. A colony faced famine, another faced disease, and a third faced political unrest. Elias and Mara coordinated responses, applying wisdom, compassion, and foresight. Each decision carried consequences in the simulation, and the Queen's glow flickered in real time, reacting to both errors and successes. Humanity's choices reflected cooperation, integrity, and courage. Hours passed, yet they remained focused. The final scenario involved an unexpected twist. An unpredictable energy surge threatened all simulations simultaneously. The team acted instinctively, coordinating actions to stabilize multiple crises at once. Elias felt a surge of pride as each team member contributed ideas, insight, and intuition, demonstrating the very qualities the Queen had sought to observe. The energy dissipated, the simulation stabilized, and the arena fell silent. Elias looked up at the Queen. Her glow now pulsed steadily, radiating warmth, approval, and acknowledgement. The translation conveyed a single profound message. Humanity is worthy. You have shown courage, wisdom, empathy, and unity. You carry the potential to shape the future, not through dominance but through partnership. The Queen's luminescence shifted again, forming patterns that conveyed invitation rather than judgment. She approached, her radiant form towering but graceful, and stopped before the pedestal where the original gift still rested. She extended a limb toward the small metallic device, examining it carefully. Her glow shifted dramatically, and Elias realized she was connecting the artifact to her own memory, a bridge between the lost colony, her people, and humanity. The Queen's presence seemed to envelop him, yet there was no fear, only understanding, respect, and curiosity. Finally, she spoke, or rather, her glow formed sequences that the translator converted. You have brought more than a relic. You have brought perspective, courage, and compassion. You remind us that potential lies not in power alone, but in understanding and unity. You have earned a place not only among us, but among the stars. Now they had forged bonds, bridged centuries of lost history, and earned recognition from one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The nobles, who had observed silently, shifted their luminescence in approval. The city below seemed to pulse in celebration, each building and organism reflecting light patterns that conveyed harmony and connection. Elias turned to Mara and the team. Their faces reflected exhaustion, wonder, and pride. They had passed the final test, not through force, but through courage, creativity, empathy, and unity. The Queen extended her hand, and Elias hesitated only briefly before placing his own against it. The moment felt timeless, a merging of species through understanding rather than words. Her glow enveloped them, signaling partnership, trust, and hope. The gift, small and seemingly simple, had become a symbol of connection between humans and Zephorians, a beacon of shared future possibilities. Elias stepped back and looked across the city. He realized that humanity's place on Zephura was now secure, not through dominance, but through integrity and vision. The trials had revealed more than capability. They had revealed character. The humans had shown the Queen, the nobles, and themselves that their strength lay not only in intellect and technology, but in empathy, courage, and unity. The Queen's glow softened, forming a calm, steady light that radiated over the city. Elias knew this was both a blessing and a responsibility. Humanity had been welcomed, but they must continue to act with wisdom, respect, and care. The gift had unlocked potential, but the future depended on how they chose to wield it. As the night deepened, Elias and his team walked through the palace courtyard, the air alive with the soft hum of Zephoria's energy. Citizens moved freely, their patterns harmonious, reflecting the newfound understanding and trust between species. The city was no longer alien. It felt shared, a place where humans and Zephorians could coexist, learn, and grow together. Elias paused at the pedestal, looking at the small metallic device. What had seemed insignificant now represented the bridge between two civilizations. It reminded him that even the smallest actions, taken with respect and purpose, could change the course of history. Humanity's journey was only beginning, but they had proven themselves worthy of the challenges ahead. He turned to Mara and the team. "We've arrived," he said softly, "not as conquerors, but as partners. This is our chance to build a future worth living together." Mara smiled. "Then let's make it count," she replied. The others nodded, their expressions determined and inspired. Above them, the Queen's light pulsed steadily, a living testament to the bond that had been formed. Humanity had taken a single step onto a distant world, and in doing so had shown what it meant to be capable, courageous, and compassionate. The gift had unlocked not only the Queen's recognition, but humanity's own potential, a reminder that understanding, empathy, and unity were the greatest powers any species could wield. And as the twin moons of Zephura rose fully over the horizon, casting their serene glow across the crystalline city, Captain Elias Kor knew that humanity's story among the stars had only just begun. But for the first time, he felt certain of something profound. They had arrived not by accident, not by luck, but by the very qualities that defined them. Humanity had been seen, understood, and accepted. The Queen stood before them, radiant, composed, and alive with centuries of wisdom. She had tested them, judged them, and finally welcomed them. Humanity had proven itself worthy, not through force, not through conquest, but through courage, empathy, and unity. And as the city glimmered beneath them, Elias understood the truth of the gift. It was never just an object. It was a bridge, a symbol, and a promise. A promise that together, humans and Zephorians could face the stars, explore the unknown, and shape a future defined not by fear, but by understanding and hope.